Hmm.
Hey Randy, how you doing?
I'm here,
Uh-huh. Hey everybody out there in TV land.
snapping back to reality, whatever that is.
Well, exactly. Whatever that is. I think we were just talking and you said reality was a psyop. And then I asked you, well, what the hell isn't a psyop? We got oarfish
Yeah.
floating up on the shore, and then you started clapping, and I was like, what? Are we applauding the oarfish?
No, we're applauding the production.
Oh,
Like kind of like at the end of every act, you want to, show your appreciation to all the actors and all the people that made it possible, all the donors, all the supporters, right? Does this sound familiar?
all the donors. Well, there's one big donor who's given flipping the big bird to 45/47 in the zeros and ones. 45/47 in the zeros and the ones. Uh-oh.
I posted being an expert on bromance intervention that I was available in case Elon or Big T wanted to reach out.
Bromance intervention.
So that's my take on it. I mean, it's not as good as Benifer, whatever that was, one of a long time ago. The graphics on it were a lot better back then, right?
I
It,
wouldn't even know how to contract Elon and Donald. DonLon? Like
yeah.
DonLon surfboards? Like Ron John? John, what?
E.T., how's that?
Phone
Elon and
home, baby.
E.T. Yeah, E.T., right? So, I mean, you got to wonder like, you need a director, you need a sound team, you need voice coaches. If you've worked on a movie, I've worked on some movies, and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and you look at all the moving parts that are required to for somebody to stand up and say their lines. And then, there has to be some sort of tag. So how about a black eye, right? We'll go with a black eye. That's always a good one, right? And then we got to have the golden key, okay? And anyway, I give them credit for, throwing in a few, you know, zingers, a few little props that capture people's attention. And in the process, they lose all sense of self and all reality. And that's why we applaud, because that's the purpose of going to any movie or any show is to get away from reality. And boy, do we have a good one, right?
Well, what
Yeah.
reality is the oarfish trying to get away from? Is my question.
Well,
What's going
if
on down there
if
under the agua?
if I was them, I'd be trying to get off the planet as quickly as I could. That's what they were showing in the Men in Black movies, right? The
Oh,
the aliens were abandoned ship, you know.
there's a reason.
Huh?
There's a reason.
Yeah, well, the aliens may be second thinking about coming here and showing themselves or something, if there were such a thing as aliens.
Okay. Well, so
Um,
like what uh is there anything in the Truman Show that's real? And where's the zipper?
well,
Where's the zipper?
it's
Let me out.
the object is create what's called conformal reality. And that is where everybody agrees on what they're seeing.
So that
It
it can collapse.
yeah, well,
Who's writing the narrative?
it is a form of quantum collapse in that did you see that? And then we're verifying that the person next to you or all your friends or the 20 million followers or billion that Trump and Elon both have, that they're all in agreement of what they're seeing, and yet we all watched a different movie. Everybody watched a different movie. Everybody had a different take on it.
Because
And
everybody's looking out a different window.
yeah, and the thing used to in movies there'd be a little black dot up in the corner when they did a scene shift. I don't know if you remember all the editing and stuff, but then we went to blink rate. So we're in blink rate movies. The what was it? Mission Impossible. 550 cliches and a blink rate that'll make your head spin. That's one. And then number two, the latest ballerina movie, John Wick movie, it's like the CGI or whatever they do, fake people are thrown in or dead people. I see dead people in that movie. There's no way that they could have been had a part in it. So, what makes you think that all of that is not going on with what we're seeing that comes out of the circus of Washington, D.C.?
As long as it's on a screen, it's plausible that it's just a $10,000 a minute production or more.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And but just remember, there has to be a lot of like in the Tom Cruise movie, the credits went on forever, right? And it just showed the number of people that had to be involved and being able to make that movie. And and to me, there's no less a production in what we're seeing in modern politics. Everybody wants to be an actor. It's just unfortunate that they can't get good actors anymore, my opinion. So,
Well, they're good enough actors to hoodwink the majority.
well, I don't know that hoodwinking's exactly true because what you're doing is what are the term they use? Identity politics. And then we go, well, how about character politics? Like in other words, I want you to fall in love with this character in this movie. And of course, now we have a love fest for Big T and a love fest for Elon and not so much some of the others. And can't we all be friends?
Well, but it all goes back to creating a perception that allows, like you said, the majority to buy into a particular narrative, which creates a form of quantum collapse into whatever it is. But,
Yeah.
you know, um,
Well, the biggest thing is in any movie, there has to be conflict. There has to be an antagonist. There has to be a protagonist. You know, wardrobe, makeup, and hair. Here we
but
go.
wait a minute though. Like, what if people just decide to stop watching that movie and make their own?
Oh, that'd be terrible, right? You can't sell popcorn if nobody's watching the movie.
Well, but terrible for whom? That's my
Well,
question.
okay, if nobody's watching the movie, what's that mean? Every Monday we have to change the script. Okay. That's what we get. Like on Monday, everything went to crazy, you know, and everybody's, oh, look how crazy this is. And by the way, somebody over there made a 50-point drop in Tesla and made a ton of money. I wonder who that was. And then come Monday, it's like, wait a minute. Last Monday, wasn't there like drone attacks and all that? Oh no, that's last week, right? So you can't get caught up in the movie too much because you got to give yourself a little room on the weekend here to reset so you can be properly outraged and involved and crazy for next week. Otherwise, you're not doing your job of supporting this government and supporting
Okay, but like,
the film industry. How's that?
how about we zoom out for a second? Because right now we're talking about uh, the weeds. Like, okay, if you zoom out, let's say you zoom out to outer space and you're watching like our whole galaxy, and then you're watching the Earth, like, what is going on? What, who else is watching, and what does Earth mean to other other. Why people decide to call it other when we're all source? Like we're watching ourselves. Like I don't know, the whole thing becomes an exercise in whackness.
Yeah. Lord forbid that you would analyze a movie.
No, I try to analyze it all the time, then people tell me I'm thinking too much.
It's you're missing the point. They're released for entertainment purposes only, right? That's the language. I love that. This is for entertainment purposes only. You can see all the.
Okay. Entertainment for whom? And then who like, but there's always released and who owns the material and who's cashing in on the back end.
Well, yeah, there has to be somebody. I mean,
Well, who
it,
is
it,
that,
it-
Andy?
uh, well, we'd have to go looking pretty hard, right? We'd have to start naming names, and generally those people have a short lifespan, so we'll
Well,
probably
you got a
skip
shorter
some.
attention span.
Yeah, yeah, lifespan and attention span is both about the same if you pay too much attention. So anyway, or start asking questions. It's like we shouldn't ask questions like, I wonder who put this together for this episode. If you look at it as episodes, you're fine. Tune in next week, right? Tune in next week for our episode,
That's
right?
what we're trying to get people to do. Tune in next week for our episode.
Yeah, yeah, that should be enough comic relief for everybody out there to be able to reset for the weekend.
Oh my God, will the real Randy please stand up? Please.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. So is it like a big game show? And how many Janes are
Yeah.
there being ignorant sluts by the day?
It's just like all our politicians are multimillionaires. That's the game show. They're the ones with the winning tickets,
But
right?
they're working for us, aren't they?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Aren't they? And
Yeah. It's like who be us? Kind of like Toys R Us, who be us, right? We're we're the ones buying the tickets to the show, and the currency we're using is our attention. Just think if you took an hour of your attention and yesterday and paid attention to all that stuff, you paid attention to it. An hour that you could have, you know,
been writing a song,
taken a break. You could have
artwork.
suntanned. You could have, you know, done anything that would benefit you except a dopamine rush from watching all the tennis match that's going on. It's always a tennis match. He said, she said. It's a bromance,
Okay,
right?
but it's the bromance, but it goes back to the dopamine rush. At what point
Yeah.
do people realize that they're just a bunch of addicts who have been enslaved and put on dopamine?
Well, if if you didn't pursue all the dopamine rush, what would you do? Have
Hey,
children?
you'd be creative. You'd
Yeah.
be a
With the
conscious
population
creator.
increase?
I don't know. You'd be a conscious creator. I mean, I like it's funny and I like to get snarky and stuff, but sometimes it makes me really sad. Like I feel I feel like, and I know this is gonna sound weird, where I come from, things happen instantly and I don't need to use words. I just people understand what I'm thinking. Like, and I don't understand. This place is so slow.
Yeah.
God.
Well, that's that blink rate. They, you look at commercials, they used to be several minutes, then they're 2 minutes, 1 minute, then they're 30-second spots, now they're 15-second spots, now they're 5 seconds. That's all the attention you can get out of somebody because as soon as they get their little dopamine rush, like turn the channel, let me look again, let me find out what the latest is. And then what I really love, you have a million people trying to explain it on the internet. Thank goodness we're not like that. Wakey, wakey.
Hands off, Snakey.
Don't complain about the normal human population. They're engaged up to their eyeballs. So,
But what's the like? At what point does a like? I mean, people talk about the Great Reset, but what about the cycles? Like, at what
uh,
point? does this just stop and does it start over again? Because it's
Well,
not sustainable.
you're just throwing out words that they use to. They're called mind traps. That's
Mind
what.
traps, the cycles, you mean?
Yeah, it's the Great Reset. Who the hell knows what that means?
Nobody. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
using those
exactly.
words because that's what they is used. But like, at what point? Okay, let me ask a different question. At what point does something shift radically? Does that happen?
Every day.
Ha.
It's while all this is going on, it's there's always five outcomes, and you're only seeing one. You see the ET show, and there's four other games being played out on the periphery, and you don't get to hear about any of those. So,
No,
uh,
because we're too busy with Big T and Elon's little spat,
yeah,
the
yeah,
lovers' spat of the
yeah.
week.
The greatest I think thing I've ever seen. I worked with some magicians at one point in my life. Um, and I was doing some calibration work and this, that, and the other. They had a big show in Las Vegas that was sold out for many years. Anyway, the idea is what's called prestidig. I can't even say
Prestidigitation.
it. Yeah, what that word.
Okay, you know
Yeah.
what? I have
So,
to
what's this
admit,
hand while I'm stealing your wallet or doing whatever on the
that's
other
called
side?
sleight of hand, man.
Yeah, that's all.
My
That,
father's first cousin
that
was Roy Benson. Roy
yeah.
Benson was so I'm related to one of these prestidigitation masters, dude.
There you go. I'm glad you can pronounce that.
I can. I have to. It's in my DNA.
So, so anyway, if you have that and you have a good script, and then you have to have tags, keys and hair and keys and black eyes and suits and strange behavior. I mean, you are in the right place. We're talking probably 3 out of 5 stars is what's going on today.
Yeah,
So,
but you forgot the boobs. You keep talking about the black eyes. We've got to put like at least one breastisis in there because that's another one. Like the black
well,
eye, the breast, the Epstein, the list, the
yeah,
JFK,
they
the
they've kind of drifted away from that. I think it's a mistake. I think they're losing audience because of it. But I'm not the director of this play.
No, you're the director of your play though, aren't you? Or is that a fallacy also?
I have like them, maybe several of them going, right? It's it's you can't get too caught up in last week's episode, right? You'll lose focus. So,
What about focusing inside and not focusing on any of that?
well, that's the path to happiness, we call it. If you can go through the world unbothered and of course, we can't have that. You have to be bothered. You have to be on somebody's side. You have to choose. You have to form a judgment. I'm not going to let you not have a judgment about, you know, T or E or P, Putin. You know. Oh, now we have TP and ET. I mean, we're doing good.
Well, I'm drinking tea, but
Yeah.
I'm not drinking pee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Call me Lady Leanne.
yeah, who was the one that did movie reviews? Wasn't it Billy Bob or
Joe Bob Briggs.
yeah, Joe Bob Briggs. That's what we need to have. We need to have somebody come back. I volunteer for that for the every show that's going on in DC and around the world, you know. And I loved it. How many buckets of blood, how many bodies, you know. It's really just the same show. This is the same drive-in movie. Um, and pardon the pun, it's a real scream.
That
Yeah.
was terrible. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Send
So,
your ass to the Catskills right now.
I did what?
I said, we're going to send your ass to the Catskills right now. Terrible.
Yeah, I just think there ought to be a mandatory like what do they call it? The dog show, the Westminster Dog Show. I think, or have a cat show. Like every weekend, you have to go into rehab, watch a dog show, watch a cat show or something. So you can be really ready come Monday for the new one. Okay.
Well, I told you, I have a friend who I asked how would they change the world. They said that they would take all the young entitled girls around the world, take away all their cell phones, kidnap them, tie them to a chair, and drag them to the edge of a cliff in the Grand Canyon. Then take their blindfold off and force them to stare at the sky for a whole night. And if when they woke up in the morning that didn't work, that he would then drag them to Kinshasa, Africa, where people defecate on the street. And that changed their world
Yeah.
fast. I thought, wow, that's a little radical, but
Thank God we don't have to do that anymore. We've got San Francisco and LA much closer.
I said, come to New York and ride the subway. People
Yeah.
doing that
Oh
all
yeah.
day long,
Yeah.
man. It's
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah. It's always been my opinion that we didn't have to go too far afield to look for aliens. If you've ever ridden the
What's an
subway,
alien? If
yeah,
whatever that is.
if you've ever ridden the subway and a few other experiences on this planet, you come to understand that they're everywhere.
Well,
So,
you know, do you feel like there are, I'm just going to ask radical questions that are also regurgitations of what everybody else talks about.
yeah, well,
Like,
it's the proper way to approach life is to regurgitate everything. We'll give you a college degree if you do it well.
well, and baby birds give you their unconditional love if you do it well for them.
Yeah, yeah. We already
So,
go on
so like, where's the
permaculture.
parallel? And here, I was going to ask a question, but like, here's another, I'm going to, the idea that, people set an example, right? People at the top set the example. Well, the people at the top are kind of squirrely. So, is it any wonder that society behaves the way it does if information is distributed kinetically through the field? Like when mommy and daddy behave a certain way and say, do as I say, not as I do, what happens to the kids? They go nuts.
Yeah.
So, like at the top, you've got these Lockheed Martin, like the mega corporations, the pharma, the this, the that, they all get away with stuff,
Right.
right? So why wouldn't average Joe Blow also want to get away with stuff? Because that's the model that's set, and
Yeah, it's good to be king. What's wrong with that? You can, if you're king, you can have gold toilets even.
it's great work if you can get it, right? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, what happens if somebody decides to take the pyramid, let's call it that, if it's at the top and then the things roll downhill? What if the pyramid gets turned upside down and the point gets jammed? Like, at what point does
Uh,
somebody just
it,
do
you're
that?
you're you're uh, you're asking for a miracle. Let's put it that way.
Too aggressive?
Well, well, if we went to straight probability theory, I think that's somewhere way past the Oort cloud. So,
Well, Oort cloud, they say that that's so radioactive that nothing can live in it, but I'm saying that it's a radioactive filter so that whatever's living behind it doesn't get attacked by whatever's living here, because we're
well,
nuts.
it goes both ways, right?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. The things that they tell us, uh, uh,
It's like the fence, the beautiful fence on the border.
how do
Is
you
it
get across?
is it to keep people out or keep people in?
Well, I would say at this point, listening to the news, that it's to keep us in.
I would, it's the gates of the cemetery always open inward.
Yeah, I watched that
There's
show.
a reason for that. They don't want them open and outward. Every cemetery you go to, you can find there's a wall around it. There's a fence around it. Does that give you an idea?
Hey, you know what? Not to bring religion into it, but
Oh,
they
no, you
put
don't
like
do
a string or a fence around an island when you're in the whole island of Manhattan has a thing around it. Like she's stuttering, ladies and gentlemen.
that.
Like my people, the Jews, like they have this thing where they have to put a periphery.
Well, yeah, you have to have a boundary layer, right? Otherwise, you get unrestricted in the old language, unrestricted intercourse, meaning interactions with people. And we,
People?
yeah, and we just can't have that, you know. It's like the Beltway is a fence, you know, the Manhattan has a fence, all these places. And you don't want people to wander into the, kill zones too easily.
Well, but what if all of Earth seems to be like the DMZ, like the
Yeah,
demilitarized?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So why put a fence around individual things here when we're just one big DMZ? It makes no sense. Why can't we just be Earthlings?
Well, everybody needs a fence. I work on people that you should have an energy field big enough to repel invaders.
Yes,
Okay.
because not everybody's there to be giving. Some people are there
Right.
to
And see, I learned this watching Marvin the Martian cartoons when I was young. And,
a nice
I
Martian.
I learned everything about politics and governments by watching Boris and Natasha on Bullwinkle, you know.
Right. Fractured fairy tales. They're real.
So, yeah, if you watch those and you have no problem with what's going on in the world today,
Is
yeah.
that what it is? Is that because we both watched Ignat's mouse throw bricks at the cat?
Yeah.
Is that the thing?
And just pick one. You can draw the parallels and you can see where, just like in the Mission Impossible, you can see where they stole 530 cliches off of every other movie that's ever been invented. And and then they threw them all together with Chat GPT and AI, which is, the new standard for movies.
Okay, so how does Joe average guy who's dopamine addicted discern the truth from the nonsense? Is there truth out there, Randy?
Yes, but
Where?
it never more than about 5 feet. You only have a reality field about 5 feet, 3 feet. So everything else is mystery. Everything else is probability and propaganda. How's that?
That's great. How do you tell that to a 3-year-old so that they understand it, so that they can?
Uh, uh, you don't. You buy them a beer and wish them good luck.
All right, well, that wraps up this week's show.
Yep, that's the end of it. Go out there and disappear into your mind.
All
Tune
right.
in next week.
Yeah, said. You tune in next week. All right, Randy. We'll see you next
Okay.
time.
It was perfectly enjoyable.
As
Wait for the new
always.
show, and we'll see each other again.
All right.
Thank you.